You're watching Camnet TV, not just another channel. Welcome to the main news with Banda Tandiwe. Let's take a look at the headlines. Home Affairs Minister Stephen KAMPYONGO mocks opposition. Government releases 18 million social cash transfer funds for CHIPATA. UNZA management dragged to court by its own workers. In our international news, Sierra Leone ex-leader banned from leaving the country. And in our sports news, MICHO to trim bullets to 24 by Sunday. Do join me with the details after this break.
Join us on the 9th of October 2020
for the National Matters Conference in Kitwe. Venue: Living Water Global Church in Wusakile, opposite Wusakile Police Station. Time: 08 hours to 17 hours. Theme: Unlocking Zambia's potential through raising a generation of generational thinkers. Charges: 510 kwacha, lunch inclusive. Speakers will be Dr. Collins Kachaka.
If you have a 3 liters per second, then we say in science that you qualify to get involved in fish farming because you have adequate water.
Dr. Mushalika.
Don't over-listen to people who are happy to see you poor. They don't mean any good for us. There are no people who are developed by others. All people develop themselves.
Dr. Prosper Sievo, Engineer Bernard Chuala.
You are welcome so that we can create a critical mass of participants in the avocado industry. 1 hectare in 12 months will give you no less than 1 million kwacha. Hello?
Mr. Himbai.
You planted a deep-rooted plant into a shallow-rooted, so where is it getting the nutrients? Nowhere. So that plant, it will not give you the potency. You have failed at land preparation.
Mr. Salanda.
All of them lay eggs. You can use them for eggs and also for meat. They lay at least in a year a minimum of, to the lowest, a minimum of 100 chickens each.
All the dyes, all the paints, all the lubricants, they come from a plant called castor. 34% of our medicinal elements, they come from a castor root.
Not forgetting your host, Pastor Victoria and Moses Chidora.
It is unthinkable.
Take note, limited numbers due to COVID-19 restrictions. Make your payments through Airtel Mobile Money on 0979 753010 or on MTN Mobile Money on 0962 382535 or 0962 965883.
Really been impacting on so many levels.
This was really powerful and I'm glad I didn't miss this one.
This conference has been wonderful in the sense that the knowledge that we've acquired within a day is so much overwhelming.
Should this conference come to Western Province, I urge them all to come en masse.
I didn't know that there's potential in me and wealth was lying right where I was.
The way to go right now is agriculture.
The knowledge that we have gathered out of this meeting is immeasurable.
Hurry, don't miss this life-changing conference.
Welcome back. Thank you so much for staying with us. We continue with our news stories. A village headman of Nampundwe has been accused of selling 8 hectares belonging to one of his subjects after forcefully grabbing it from him. Duet Chirawe explains that his land was allegedly sold to United Prosperous and Peaceful Zambia UPPZ President Charles Chanda, who is currently facing 134 charges of obtaining money by false pretenses relating to land issues before the Lusaka Magistrate Court. Details in this report.
After living for 13 years on his piece of land, Duwit Chiwawe woke up to a shock of his life after his village headman in Nampundwe allegedly sold his land. Chiwawe, a farmer, explains that despite having a meeting with the village headman over his refusal to give away his land because he depends on it for his farming, the headman went ahead with the decision by allegedly grabbing and selling his 8 hectares of land. The 42-year-old victim told Camnet TV that the alleged 8 hectares of land was sold to United Prosperous and Peaceful Zambia leader Charles Chanda. The victim, who is now struggling for survival as he can no longer practice farming, disclosed disclosed that he was threatened and told he cannot do anything to the headman over his decision.
So from 2018 to 2019 naona masurveyors wambubwela manje kupima mafields mupima na kufaka mabikoni bafuta ta iwe landi banagulisa bahedman bako balakambati usachabe na 1 hectare yopani so inaganiza manje zabani nabaendela futhi bahedman ya okay bahedman ni shi at least sembe manipasa kwa something swati nikasaka kwa maana kwina ngomeni ningakwanisa kukana kulima hata ile hivyo ya ile mimi nakuza so chabi then ninaenda kuli ba senior headman ba king nafika kuja na walondolola wose story mimi naambira then we ba senior headman wakambata ninkani sininga ingeneyo Nlechabe mkamvirani kwa mino kwa Mzambia nchabe babili then manje inabwira futi nabakonka bariki mambo so manje ndio kambati ukanimbikira kunishupa so niza kupoka manje paja ponse nikupisha na kukupisha nikupwanye na manyumba yonse paja paja kusira chabe chifika unamanga kwa nyumba ikulu na kaucha dipaja that's why nakusira chepa mimi paja.
Chibawe, a father of 9 who traveled all the way from Nampundwe to Lusaka, is now seeking for justice.
Hapo sinaende ku polisi banimba banani uzati kuli konse kumene ungaende kuno there's nothing you can do ajifuka once banizi bami I have money so ngati nivelabati nkani ukamba kuno au chase you out manje kuno.
Meanwhile, Concerned Citizen for Justice and Human Rights Operations Manager has condemned the Barbaric Act and has called upon the village chief not to allow such in his chiefdom.
In his case, all the way from Nampundwe, these issues of land are so rampant now. Surely, we always say Zambia is a Christian nation, and who doesn't know that? We have to uphold biblical norms. Someone has been there for 13 years. He has children, now with grandchildren, who also have to be beneficiaries of the same land that has been.
Miriam Kemba, reporting for Camnet TV News in Lusaka.
National Democratic Congress NDC leader Chishimba Kambuli has fumed over the decision taken by the Electoral Commission of Zambia ECZ to cancel a stakeholders meeting at the last minute. ECZ was due to meet political players to discuss issues surrounding the electoral process leading to the 2021 general elections. Among the issues which were due to be discussed include the doing away of old voter register and the ongoing online voter registration. But Mr. Kambole accuses the ECZ of playing some political hide-and-seek aimed at catching the opposition napping at the last minute. Mr. Kambole has warned the ECZ not to be used by some forces, saying doing so may lead the country in a different direction. Mr. Kambole stated this at a media briefing at his residence in Lusaka. Details in this report.
Of Zambia has communicated to all of us in the last 30 minutes that the meeting has been cancelled. And the reason they've given is that no, this matter cannot be discussed because there is a court case going on in which the UPND and some NGOs have gone to challenge the Electoral Commission of Zambia over these same issues of online voter registration and, of course, the doing away with the old register, countrymen and women. Should it only be sub judice when it favors the opposition? When it favors the Electoral Commission of Zambia or it favors the ruling government, it's not sub judice. Look, when there was the issue of Bill 10, the UPND did allude to the fact that we cannot continue considering Bill number 10 because there is a matter in court. The Patriotic Front, through its lawyers, and Parliament refused totally and went ahead and considered Bill 10, despite the fact that the matter was in court and it was tantamount to sub judice. In my case, when I was removed from Parliament, my case was in court. The Speaker went ahead and declared my seat vacant, despite the fact that the matter was in court. So when government is involved, it's not sub judice. But when the opposition is involved, it becomes sub judice. And if the Electoral Commission of Zambia is saying that we cannot have a meeting to discuss the issue of the electoral process because the matter is in court, then they should stop the online voter registration because it's also sub judice.
Meanwhile, Home Affairs Minister Stephen KAMPYONGO has urged the ECZ to begin biting political players and discrediting the Commission or the electoral process. Speaking in Parliament on Wednesday when he contributed on the debate to adopt the report of the Parliamentary Seat Committee appointed to scrutinize the presidential appointment of Mrs. Emily Joy Sikazwe to serve as Vice Chairperson of the ECZ and Major General Vincent Mbaola Mukanda retired and Mrs. Ndioi Muliwana Mutiti to serve as members of the Electoral Commission of Zambia. Mr. KAMPYONGO said it is worrying that the political players who can't even win a ward seat, are the ones in the forefront crying victim and issuing out alarming statements. But leader of the opposition, Jack Mwembo, accused the electoral body of being toothless. Mr. Mwembo in his debate accused the ECZ of being a finished institution only there to save selected stakeholders.
Condemn the institution for our own failures as political players. They are there to make sure that everyone participates. And I want to just appeal to them to ensure that they take some of the sentiments coming from reckless politicians seriously. Let them bite. Let them learn to bite as an institution, important as it is. We can't allow individuals who can't even win a ward as councillors to claim rigging which they can't substantiate.
Mr. Speaker, the Electoral Commission of Zambia is a failed institution that has failed to manage elections in this country. Mr. Speaker, it's in public domain that despite the powers that have been endowed on the Electoral Commission of Zambia, they have failed to manage elections in this country. And I will demonstrate. Mr. Speaker, we are aware that there is a code of conduct of all the players in the electoral process in this country, and which code of conduct is supposed to be managed by the Electoral Commission of Zambia in collaboration with Zambia Police. But alas, Mr. Speaker, whenever we have elections in this country, and in particular by-elections, Mr. Speaker, we have noted with concern as members of the public and players in the political arena the failures of the Electoral Commission. We have noted where the Electoral Commission has failed to ensure that the players in the political arena are given the latitude to campaign freely in the elections.
And in other news, Cheshire Home Society saying working towards ensuring that children with disabilities have access to education as a human right. The non-governmental organization has since donated assistive devices at Nchini Primary School for children with disabilities worth 200,000 kwacha. Zanis has more in the following report.
Cheshire Home Society is working adequately to ensure that children with disabilities have access to education as a human right. The non-governmental organization has donated assistive devices to Muchini Primary School in Chipata district for children with disabilities worth 200,000 kwacha. Eastern Province Principal Education Standards Officer Dr. Beatrice Bota represented the Provincial Education Officer Dr. Alan Lingambe as guest of honor.
The ministry is honored to be in the forefront of driving the agenda of inclusive education. And we would like to thank LEONE Cheshire and its implementing partners, Cheshire Homes Society of Zambia, for the commitment and dedication to the improvement of learners with disabilities in Eastern Province of Zambia.
Muchini Primary School head teacher Nelly Mumba commended the Cheshire Homes Society for the gesture.
So that zonse zamene batiletera ba Cheshire Homes Chipata together with the LEONE Cheshire Society, so that bana batu batandizike.
Earlier, Cheshire Homes Society Eastern Province Inclusive Education Project Acting Manager Mumalubanya said his organization is committed to ensure that children with disabilities are supported with assistive devices in order for them to access education.
Cheshire Homes, in partnership with LEONE Cheshire and other funders, have been implementing an inclusive education project here in Eastern Province, based in the 5 districts, that is starting from Nyimba all the way up to Chipata. And as at now, the project has enrolled over 658 children with different disabilities. The project aims to enroll by May 2021 over 750 children. Now we expect that these children should have access to quality education in an inclusive manner.
And this is the word of thanks from one of the parents to the beneficiaries.
Mungu watikomera mtima mpaka na watipasa bungwe la Cheshire Home. Na cholinga chakuti litithandizire ndipo thandizo lamene italiwona. Lero tuona zanyowane zokuti mwana onkhalapo nokwanisha kulemba.
Government is working in partnership with Cheshire Homes Society to ensure that life chances of 750 children with disabilities are made through inclusive education. Sylvester Shimba, reporting for Zanis in Chipata District, Eastern Province.
Still in Chipata, government has released more than 18 million kwacha to be paid to 7,639 vulnerable households in Chipata district under the COVID-19 emergency social cash transfer. Speaking as guest of honors during the flagging off of the social cash transfer, Eastern Province Permanent Secretary Veronica Mwiche said government is working to ensure that it improves the livelihoods of vulnerable communities without leaving anyone behind. Details in this report.
More than 7,000 people from Chipata district in Eastern Province are scheduled to benefit from the COVID-19 emergency social cash transfer. Government, through the Ministry of Community Development and Social Services, is working to empower vulnerable households in the country. Eastern Province Permanent Secretary Veronica Mwiche graced the flag off of the event.
This is a very auspicious occasion in the sense that it resonates so loudly with the theme of the 7th National Development Plan, which is talking about accelerating development efforts towards Vision 2030 without leaving anyone behind.
Chipata District Administrative Officer Kapemba Skazwe had this to say.
When we are seeing or witnessing the payouts for the COVID-19 emergency social cash transfer, and as a district we are very privileged and we are happy to be one of the beneficiary districts in the country.
Meanwhile, the beneficiaries commended government and its cooperating partners for the COVID-19 emergency social cash transfer.
Navutika kwambiri ni wana ngakhale ine mmene njala so nalibe ndalama yoti ngule fertilizer lomba naipeza ndiponso ana banga amene aphunzira pa masukulu osiyana ndidzathandizika tsopano ngakhale njala omwe yatheratu ndipempha boma ndithokoza boma kuti mkhalidwe otere woti kumbuka anthu osauka upitire patsogolo.
Government targets to ensure that it improves the livelihoods of vulnerable households in the country through the 7th National Development Plan without leaving anyone behind. Sylvester Shimba for the News in Chipata District, Eastern Province.
In other news, the University of Zambia Lecturers and Researchers Union, UNZA, has dragged the University of Zambia Council to the High Court, demanding payment of over 4 million kwacha arising from arrears of unremitted union contributions. UNZA Secretary General Kelvin Mambo explains that around March 23, 1993, it entered into a recognition agreement with the University of Zambia Council, which was entrusted with the role of collecting union contributions on behalf of the plaintiff from its members by deducting the state funds direct from their salaries, but has not been remitting the state funds. Both the lecturers and the union are asking the Lusaka High Court to order the council to pay its interest incidental to the proceedings costs and any relief it might deem fit. Dr. Mambo states that as a result of the council's failure to remit the funds, the defendant now owes the plaintiff the sum of over 4 million kwacha, being arrears of unremitted union contributions, despite the state funds having already been deducted from union members. And in other news, the Lusaka magistrate Sunge Chanda has set 20th October 2020 as the date for ruling whether said witness Colonel Leonard Chileshe, director in charge of salaries and pensions at the Zambia Air Force under the Finance Department, can continue his testimony beyond what he has testified before the court or not. This is in a matter in which former Zambia Air Force ZAF Commander Eric Chimese and Cheetah Lodge Limited Director James Chungu are charged with abuse of authority of office and money laundering related to properties in Ibex Hill and Lilai area in Lusaka. When the matter came up for mention and ruling, the state informed the court that there was no communication from both parties. However, Magistrate Chanda informed the court that the ruling was ready but could not render it in the absence of the parties involved. In previous sittings, it was reviewed that Eric Chinese salaries, pension benefits and travel benefits stood at 11.7 million kwacha for a period from 2011 to 2018. But before the witness could give more details on Mr. Chimese's emoluments, defense lawyer Kelvin Waliafumbe objected that line of testimony on account that the General Chimese's emoluments are a matter of security. You're still watching Camnet TV, not just another channel. We do take our set of commercials and return with more news stories. Do stay with us.
Take control of your tax planning. Avoid penalties and interest. Returns and payments due by the 10th of the month for declarations of the previous month's transactions are pay as you earn and skills development levy. Returns and payments due by the 14th of the month are turnover tax, withholding tax, mineral royalty tax, tourism levy, gaming and baiting, presumptive tax. Returns and payments for all withholding VAT agents is the 16th of the month. Returns and payments for all VAT registered suppliers is the 18th of the month. Submit the returns and make payments on or before the respective due dates to avoid penalties on the late submission of returns and payments of taxes. Further, note that VAT tax invoices for all business-to-business and business-to-government transactions must bear the tip-in of the buyer without fail. Zambia Revenue Authority. My tax, your tax, our destiny.
I have used Oracle Pure Glycerin for 2 years now. It has really worked for me. It has cleared all the black spots on my face. It has restored my skin beauty. It also smoothens the skin. Try Oracle Pure Glycerin for perfect skin. If it's not Oracle Glycerin, then it's not Pure Glycerin.
Stay home, stay safe. Times have changed. With the advent of the coronavirus, Lusaka Water Supply and Sanitation Company would like to advise its esteemed customers to avoid visiting crowded places. You don't have to move to pay your water bill. You can do it in the convenience of your home. You can pay your water bills through Zanaco Zapit Stanbic Bank, Standard Chartered Bank, and FNB. You can also use Airtel, MTN, and Zamtel Kwacha mobile money transfer services. For any inquiries to report a fault, please contact our customer service on +260 211 251 571, +260 975 618 618, and toll-free line 5957, Zamtel only. You can also simply email customerservice@lwsc.com. This public announcement is brought to you by the Lusaka Water Supply and Sanitation Company. Water is life. Sanitation is health.
Welcome back. Thank you so much for staying with us. Local Government Minister Charles Banda has warned all council officers who are receiving applications for change of land use to desist from doing so. Speaking when he conducted a tour of open spaces which include play parks in Lusaka, Dr. Banda says play parks are of critical importance to human life and preserving the biodiversity of the land. He says open space network modifies temperature, provides wind protection and modifies humidity. The minister has re-echoed that the ministry will not approve any change of land use for open spaces like play parks across the country. Dr. Banda notes that the circular that was issued in 2018, which called on the reinstatement of open spaces, whose main objective was to ensure that all residential areas are within easy access of a park, playing pitch and play area. Details in this report.
The purpose of this tour was for us to just take a look at the open spaces and parks that we have in Lusaka. And the reasons are very simple. We would like to have these parks maintained because they play a very critical role to the way we lead our lives here in town. You know, we need the places where people can have their leisure for purposes of, you know, improving their physical being. That can be done in a park. Our children, they need to find places where they can go and play freely, where there is no danger for them. A park can play that role. And you know, a park like this one, when we maintain them like this, they you know, they serve a lot of purposes. You know, they serve a lot of purposes. They can even help us to increase the biodiversity where the flora and fauna is concerned. This can play that role. Also, they also, you know, play a role of carbon sinks to clean the air that we need so much in towns here where there's so much settlement of people. Trees help us to bring about clean air, but at the same time they also act as wind breaks to control the wind and so forth. Now, if you're going to destroy everything in the name of, you know, development, putting up just buildings and buildings and buildings which will have no contribution to the well-being of the general community, then we're not doing anything for the good of the community. I've noticed that there is a very high appetite among some of our people to identify wherever there is open space like here and wanting to sell for personal gain. I know that there's so many applications which have come through, and I've said no. We are not going to change any play park or open space in Lusaka for personal gain or for any other development apart from ensuring that these parks take the role that they're supposed to play in as far as the development of our cities is concerned. So those of you out there who have lodged applications through the councils and you want to take up some of these parks, take it from me that the circular which was issued in 2018, October 2018, still stands. We're not going to change anything in as far as these parks are concerned. They are playing a very critical role, as I have already seen. To our friends, those unruly people that we have in society who have this great appetite of selling land anyhow, I want them to know that we are going to meet head on.
The Southern African Center for Constructive Resolution of Disputes, ACCORD, has welcomed the second phase mobile issuance of National Registration Cards (NRCs). ACCORD Executive Director Boniface Chambe says this process is important as it is the first step in affording the citizens of the country an opportunity to acquire a legal document that forms a basis of them to attain a voter's card and be in position to participate as a voter in the 2021 general elections. Mr. Chambe, however, notes with concern that the issue of returning a police report for those who lost their NRC has not been as decentralized as some police posts or stations contend that they do not have a mandate to issue such reports. He has since appealed to the Minister of Home Affairs and the Police Command to consider fully decentralizing the attainment of a police report for those who have lost their NRCs so that citizens do not have to spend more money and time moving around to find an appropriate police station to issue them such a report. Mr. Chambe has further appealed to the Minister of Home Affairs to ensure that his directive for a waiver on the fee charge to get a police report for a lost NRC is effected to allow people to replace their NRCs.
Well, as ACCORD, we have made two key observations on the ongoing issuance of mobile national registration cards. One, that the decentralized process is very good for the country because it affords many people at a go to acquire an NRC and or get a replacement for an NRC. However, we have observed that other processes, especially for those who want to acquire a replacement NRC because they lost their NRC, that process has not been as decentralized as it should be because some police posts or stations contend that they do not have the mandate to issue police reports for such lost NRCs. So we want to appeal to the Minister of Home Affairs and the Police Command to decentralize the issuance of police reports for NRCs that have been lost. This will go a long way in ensuring that people don't have to go around various police posts or stations for them to achieve or to attain such a report. The second observation that we've made as ACCORD is that there is need to have effective communication between the Ministry of Home Affairs and the Police Command, in it that some police stations are still charging the 54 kwacha fee that one is required to pay in the event that they lost an NRC and they need to acquire or attain a police report. There is a directive that was given by the Minister of Home Affairs that this fee has been waived, so there is need for us to effect this waiver so that people don't have to get discouraged to go and get an NRC replacement on account that they need to spend more money in order for them to attain this much needed document that allows them to get a voter's card and ultimately be in a position to exercise their right to vote in the 2021 general elections.
Meanwhile, United Party for National Development Mumbwa Central Member of Parliament, Credo Nanjua, is dismayed by the arrest of party youths who were sensitizing the members of the public on the mobile issuance of national registration cards in Mumbwa. Mr. Nanjua says the party has taken it upon itself to ensure that eligible candidates acquire NRCs by sensitizing them. He explains that the youths were arrested for merely alerting people on this important exercise being undertaken by the Ministry of Home Affairs. Meanwhile, Mr. Nanjua has regretted the low pace at which NRCs are being issued in areas where the process is going on, doubting whether the desired results will be attained at the end of the program. Government on the 20th of September commenced the issuance of national registration cards through phase 2 of mobile national registration exercise, which is covering Lusaka, Southern and Central provinces.
This is the second time in a row. The first one was the Deputy District Youth Chairman who was arrested by merely going to find out when the process of NRC issuance was to commence. Our youth chairman was arrested. Again yesterday, the police arrested the constituency youth chairman and charged him with an offense of public nuisance. The youth chairman, what he was doing was, they went around publicizing to the people after they got the schedule of the NRC issuance in the constituency. They went around to sensitize the people, to publicize the process to the people so that people can turn in numbers. The following day, which was yesterday, the police comes and say you are making noise. This is public nuisance, and our youth chairman is in police custody. They have denied him the board, purporting that they wanted to take him to court. And again today, they are telling us that they cannot take him to court because the magistrate is sick. Now the question that is begging answers is that is it an offense to publicize the issuance of national registration cards to the people? Because that's the only offense that our youth chairman committed.
Small-Scale Farmers Development Agency SAFADA Director Boyd Mobwe has called on the Ministry of Agriculture to work hand-in-hand with the Ministry of Lands in ensuring that land is made available for farming activities. Speaking in Lusaka on Wednesday, Mr. Mobwe explains that government policies have not favored the agricultural sector, hence failing to take its rightful place in the economy. He notes that agriculture is slowly dwindling down due to natural critical blows such as climate change and a bad national agricultural policy. He has since called on political will and more resource allocation. Mr. Mobwe says agriculture should be treated as a business in order to attract more people into the sector.
The issue of land has become a business. People are taking advantage of land to sell land in order to get something, maybe capital to start a business or other things. But this is a very big blow to the agriculture sector because agriculture is based on the land. So if land is not well distributed, I think we are going to face a challenge. And I'm appealing to the Ministry of Lands and Natural Resources to physically do a search or survey and try to review the policy and come up with a policy that will protect everyone and help everyone. So as a further, finally, we are looking at some good solutions that we have decided to put in place and probably work with the government of the Republic of Zambia. Is that one, we are asking the private sector, we are asking the government to recognize CHIPATA as a central hitting point that will collaborate, monitor and facilitate all business activities happening in the farming community. That will help us to see the farmers progressing in their business of farming. Secondly, we are looking.
Still to come in our international and sports news, we do take a break and return with more news stories. Do stay with us.
To create a positive difference in people's lives, one must first understand the way people live. At Savenda, we're here for our community, our partners, and our future, as a nation and as a continent.
Back in 1997, we decided we were going to create this family journey into a bigger opportunity, and created a business called Savenda, which meant Save Nations to Develop Africa.
It's always important to give back to the people. The government cannot do everything, but as business entities, we'll be able to reach a lot of people.
From our humble beginnings in the telecoms and mining sectors to our work in energy and development projects, we know how important it is to be true to our roots.
Our services have to be diversified so that we don't depend on one income stream. Back in the village, I was growing up hunting and doing everything that a village boy would like to do. When you're hunting, you don't depend on one trap, for example. You have to have many traps. So those survival skills brought into the business created opportunities that we learned from a young age that you can't survive with just one product. Savenda Group involves Savenda Management, which is a consulting, Savenda Express, which is a corporate branding company, Savenda Electric, which is a manufacturer of energy-saving bulbs, Savenda General Insurance, which is a general insurance company, Savenda Fresh Produce, Cyber Africa, which is a center for just dealing with cyber security.
Now, Savenda is combining local knowledge with international expertise.
It's time to be a part of Zambia's rising success and Africa's exciting future.
We are a gateway into Africa, and now we are praying with global companies who are coming to Zambia for opportunities and to look for companies that are homegrown, and we are proud to be one of those.
Welcome back. Thank you so much for staying with us. We continue with our international news. The authorities in Sierra Leone have imposed a travel ban on former President Ernest Bai Koroma and several officials who served during his term over allegations of corruption. Mr. Koroma and more than 100 people will not be allowed to leave the country. They have been ordered to pay back stolen money, forfeit their houses, or they will be further investigated. Mr. Koroma's opposition, All People's Congress APC party, has dismissed the allegations. A lawyer for the party has said they will go to court to challenge the travel ban. Last week, President Mada Bayo said the commission of inquiry led by foreign judges was a major breakthrough that would help make corruption unfashionable and risky. The commission identified 111 individuals consisting of former head of parastatals, banks, and businessmen as people of interest. We now look at our sports news. And in our sports news, Chipolopolo coach Milutin Micho Sredojevic says he expects to trim the number of local players currently in camp to 24 by Sunday. And Micho has paid tribute to the local coaches for helping keep the players in shape during the COVID-19 laden period. Speaking after taking the 40 local players through the paces at Koloma Stadium, Tuesday Micho gave some of the foreign players may be given a run against the Flames on October 7th in Lusaka. The man, affectionately dubbed the Serbian Wolf, said the 3 friendly matches lined up during the FIFA window will be used to refine the Chipolopolo. Micho said his technical bench was looking at adding a bonus friendly against any of the top 3 South African Premier Soccer League clubs. Zambia is building up for the back-to-back Cameroon 2021 to be played in 2022 Africa Cup of Nations Group H qualifiers against Botswana. That sports news item brings us to the end of the news, but before we go, a recap of the headlines. Home Affairs Minister Stephen Kampyongo mocks opposition. Government releases 18 million kwacha social cash transfer funds for CHIPATA. UNZA management dragged to court by its own workers. In our international news, Sierra Leone ex-leader banned from leaving the country. And in sports, MICHO to trim bullets to 24 by Sunday. The Camnet word verse of the day is coming from the book of Proverbs 20 verse 3 to 19, and it reads, "It is one's honor to avoid strife, but every fool is quick to quarrel. A gossip betrays a confidence, so avoid anyone who talks too much." Thank you so much for joining me on Camnet TV Main News. My name is Banda Tandiwe. Pleasant viewing.